friends, welcome to my channel, Life with Everyday Haley. I'm super glad you've joined me today. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm really glad to get to know you, become friends, and I hope that you have found my channel and found some videos on my channel that have helped you navigate your own journey to becoming a mom and parenthood and the fertility journey that it is. If you are returning, super glad to have you back. I've loved this community that we've built, a friendship. We can ask each other questions, learn from each other, and grow. Before we get started in today's video, wanted to remind you to please like and subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot of informative videos about my journey, where I've been, how we basically navigated our fertility journey over the last couple of years, which was very difficult, and also some really fun, exciting new content about my new life updates and things changing. And just a lot of fun. So I'm super happy to have you. As we get started with today's video, this is a really important video. This is a video about how I have navigated pregnancy after facing recurrent pregnancy loss. Mainly from an emotional perspective. I'm going to do some additional videos on protocol and more of a medical perspective of what I feel like really helped me have a different outcome with this pregnancy. And again, I have not given birth yet, so this is from the perspective of someone who is coming out of their first trimester. So basically, the perspective of how I've navigated really that critical first trimester, the scary part of my pregnancy, after having two back-to-back pregnancy losses that both ended in the first trimester. If you want to learn more about my losses, the story behind those, they were both very unique situations. You can view that on my channel. If you want to learn more about some diagnostic care, what they found through my journey, you can learn more about that on my channel as well. Again, I'm going to do another video focused more on the health side of things with my body and what I feel like made a difference this time, what I feel like is making a difference this time, which I think will be super valuable for those tuning into my channel that have been following along or may have a similar health history and path as me. And again, just to conclude with that, when it comes to recurrent pregnancy loss, I have a little bit of a clearer perspective of it now as I've been through it. It's really a matter of figuring out what the problem is and trying to solve it. And you have to keep trying and keep pushing. That is the key to success. Is as hard as it is, you have to keep pushing. So today's video is really about emotionally navigating pregnancy after recurrent loss, and how I've done, how I have felt, how I have had to take the first trimester. So I am currently almost 13 weeks. I'm coming out of my first trimester. I'm feeling really positive about this pregnancy. This pregnancy has been different from day one, so I'll just kind of share that as well. And it seems to have a much different outcome than the previous two, which actually is really common in terms of pregnancy loss for a woman to have a couple losses and then one works. It could be due to changes she's made, or sometimes it can just be random. So that's what's really tricky about this world. I've watched several videos of women that have been like, I didn't really do anything different. I did a lot different in this pregnancy. So I'm excited to share that in the other video. Okay, so let's talk about the emotional roller coaster of pregnancy after loss. So pregnancy after loss is really actually the most difficult thing that I've ever done. I thought going through losses was hard. I thought the waiting and the diagnostic time and the spinning my wheels wanting to be pregnant again was hard. I thought all of that was hard. Definitely going through miscarriages is the most traumatic thing ever, the most sad thing in the world. So I do think that was probably the hardest part of my journey, but this has been the second hardest, because I didn't realize this, but before I was trying to conceive again, I was in my safe bubble. I was safe because I wasn't pregnant. I knew that I wasn't trying to conceive, and I knew that there wasn't a risk that I was going to miscarry because I wasn't pregnant. But then once you get pregnant, then the immediate thought that is constantly in like the front of your mind is, I could miscarry like at any moment. So you literally take, you know, a first trimester is 13 weeks. That is a long time. That is multiple months. And a woman that has had loss sits there every day, like every second, wondering, am I going to miscarry today? Like, it is the most exhausting and stressful mental turmoil that I've ever been under. And it has been really hard. And even after the first trimester, even into the second, even later on, like, I feel like I will constantly worry. Whenever I go to the restroom, I'm constantly looking every single time I wipe. You know, a human goes to the restroom multiple times a day. Every single time I look for blood, still to this day, and it has been that way for 13 weeks. It has been overwhelmingly difficult. I did not realize how difficult pregnancy after loss would be for me, specifically the first trimester. So let's start from the beginning. In the very beginning, things were just different, which is amazing. But I got pregnant very quickly this time, I think because of the protocols I've been on and the preparation I've been doing for my body. I have been working out a lot, trying to drink water, eat well, on a lot of supplements. My husband on a lot of supplements, vitamins, exercising. We were both working on our health. I had lost about 20 pounds since my last pregnancy. So we were doing well. And I think exercise, I was exercising a lot, playing very competitive pickleball multiple times a week. That's my sport that I love, my husband and I. And we were playing tournaments like right up until I got pregnant. And we really think that that helped a ton. It's really good for your body. It also brought my stress levels down and really improved my blood work. So at the time that I got pregnant, everything was really good. Like, my blood work was looking great. I had been working on my PCOS, treating that. And so we felt like, my doctor felt like I was ready. Right off the bat, my HCG levels were a lot higher than my last pregnancy. So that gave me some, like, an insight into, okay, this is like a very different pregnancy. Also, I started tracking my hormones for the first time. They looked really good too. My progesterone was really good. So we are like, this is a good baby, you know? Then we go to the ultrasound and we see the heartbeat for the first time at 5 weeks and 6 days. And the doctor said, this looks like a healthy baby, healthy heartbeat. And then from then on, it's been that way. Every report we've gotten has been really good. And so very different than going in there, not having an ultrasound. And like last time I didn't have an ultrasound until 8.5 weeks. And the baby was just very, very small and not developed. And no heartbeat. So that was just very different than this experience. And so this baby's obviously growing on track and obviously growing on time and even beyond that, and has a really good heartbeat. So actually from the very beginning, we have felt really confident in this pregnancy. I will share that I prayed like really, really intimately with the Lord over that conception cycle in October that we got pregnant. I prayed. I said, God, I've waited so long. I am so tired of waiting. I am trying so hard. I said, let this be the month. Like, don't let me have to wait. Don't let me have to face a long battle with trying to conceive again. Like, please. And I just prayed a very direct prayer to the Lord. And I did feel before I even got a positive test that he had answered that prayer. Something just told me. I told my husband, I feel really good about this cycle. I just feel intimately connected with God, and I felt like he was telling me that it was going to happen. And so when I saw that positive, I just knew. I thought, this baby's going to make it, this because God is behind this. So I've always kind of had that perspective, but anxiety is a giant mountain in this pregnancy for me. There's no way that I could ever face pregnancy just blissfully happy again. It's been just very difficult. So from the very beginning, I have received weekly ultrasounds. So every week since 4.5 weeks, we have seen the baby grow and develop. My doctor keeps a really close eye on that development, and he's very pleased with it. But that also kind of brings some anxiety of, you know, showing up to an ultrasound. So I had to work through that at first. I think a lot of pregnancy after loss is kind of healing your mindset of the past or healing your perspective change. So like, I'm healing through I'm actively healing through this pregnancy. there's still a lot of triggers that I'm facing along the way, like at every step of the way. But I'm finding healing through this pregnancy because it's a different outcome than before. It's a positive, the outcome that I wanted. So for instance, really scared to show up for those first couple ultrasounds. The really early ones are super scary when the baby's not even fully developing yet. The doctor was great about telling me what I should see, what I shouldn't see. And like, for instance, at our 4.5 week ultrasound, they just wanted to make sure that the baby was in the uterus, like gestational sac forming, and not in my fallopian tube. And the doctor was really great about saying you're not going to see a baby yet, and that's normal. And just things like that. And then just seeing the baby progress. Those first few ultrasounds were really scary, making sure there was a heartbeat and that it was healthy. And I'm so triggered because that's just the memory that I had of showing up and the baby not having a heartbeat. So I think my biggest fear through this first trimester has genuinely been showing up to an ultrasound and having them say there's no heartbeat, because that was my biggest fear in my last pregnancy. And that happened to me. And it was really traumatic to go through a missed miscarriage. So I didn't even know what that was before I had one, but a missed miscarriage is when you miscarry but your body doesn't know it and continues to be normal and feel pregnant, and you don't find out for a couple weeks usually, and it's just awful. Just a horrible experience for a woman to go through. It's completely horrible. So that was like the big anxiety for me in the very beginning. And then I'm kind of rewriting my story through my positive ultrasounds and like positive outcomes. So it's just been kind of cool to see God rewrite my story. I feel like I have a redemption story for sure. But you kind of have to tread sensitively with that because you can't forget about what you already know from the past. So I'm trying to allow myself to rewrite my story with goodness, and embrace that, but also remember that it's okay that I'm upset and nervous. And I talk a lot with my therapist about this, about what you feel is normal for someone that's gone through what you've been through. What you're going through is normal. And I have several friends right now that are pregnant again after loss. I have several friends that are pregnant with my physician, and we keep in touch and contact. And they are also pregnant after multiple losses, and we all feel this exact same way. So if you're a woman that has had loss, one or multiple, and you go to get pregnant again, it's going to be really difficult. And I just want you to know that. There is a book that I've been reading that really helps, especially really helped me in those early first trimester days where I was panicking. Around the time where my second pregnancy failed, even my first pregnancy failed, I was super nervous to have a chemical loss again. But I missed my period like I was supposed to, and I thought that was a win. And then around the time that my second pregnancy failed, I was really nervous that, like, for some reason, maybe I couldn't get past that gestation. Like, in my head, I just kept thinking, what if you just can't get past that gestation? I don't know why. It was just like an anxiety thing. Obviously, I did get past that gestation. But I remember just really struggling with that. And there's a book that one of my friends that's seeing my physician recommended for me. And I'll share it here to you guys. It is so amazing. I have it linked on my LTK. It is a daily journal to walk you through the emotions you experience when you are pregnant again after having loss. And it is really just a beautiful, direct example of all the emotions and struggles that I've been going through. And just to hear that and to speak that to God and work through that has really helped me. So that book is a must-have. I told my therapist about it, told her to share with her clients. As you know, my therapist works specifically with women that have had loss, infertility, dealing with, postpartum depression, different things like that. Her clients could really benefit from that book as well. And so, yeah, I mean, honestly, pregnancy was just kind of rolling. If we go back to the beginning, HCG looked good. They stopped trending my HCG. My ultrasounds started looking great. Once we saw a heartbeat, we really felt very positive that, like, wow, this is big. This is different than last time. That's the first time I started really remembering, hey, this is different than last time. This is not the same pregnancy. and things are very different. And I had a really good support system around me, like my husband and my parents, to remind me of that this is a different pregnancy. And I think you should remember that too, that it feels very similar because it's the same situation in your body, but it's it actually is a different situation and a different scenario. And I'm a lot more prepared this time than I was before. And I have a full pregnancy protocol, which I'm excited to share with you guys in another video. I will say around 5 weeks pregnant is when I did have a scare, and that did kind of send me back a little bit in terms of anxiety. So it did make my first trimester pretty difficult. I started spotting at 5 weeks pregnant. I was here at the house working on a project, actually in the nursery. We were working on our wall project, our accent wall for our baby nursery, and I just started having a lot of cramping. And I will say, in early pregnancy, I had a lot of cramping. That was one of my first pregnancy symptoms, and it usually is for me, actually. And I just remember feeling like this is a lot of cramping. Kind of alarmed, but not really, because I mean, it was doing that for a couple days. And then I went to the restroom and I had some light pink spotting on the toilet paper, and I just froze and just sat there for a few minutes and tried to wipe more, and it wasn't hardly anything, but I came out and just was like a mess and told my husband I'm having some spotting. And I just automatically thought I'm miscarrying again, because this was right around the time when, you know, my first pregnancy failed. And so I just had a horrible weekend. I was crying and like hyperventilating, and I mean, it was awful because I was like feeling everything back to the pregnancy losses that I'd had, and I was feeling so hopeless, like, why can my body not do this? And I jumped to worst case scenario because of the fear that I had from the past and the trauma that I have. And my husband was trying to like say like, no, I don't feel that I don't feel that you're miscarrying. And I'm happy to say that I wasn't. But it was scary. And it's something that if you do experience spotting in your pregnancy, that's first of all very common, and there's different reasons why you can spot in the first trimester. But if you do experience spotting after having miscarriages, you're gonna freak out, and it's gonna be horrible because of what you've been through. And that's totally normal too, to react that way. Like, I didn't overreact. I was terrified. But thankfully, the baby was fine. So that's another learning thing that I've learned through this pregnancy is like, the baby was fine. The baby was fine. What it was I went in and we saw the heartbeat for the first time, and the baby was fine, but I had developed a small tear between my placenta and my uterus called a subchorionic hemorrhage. Very common in early pregnancy, very common in developing babies, and in the first trimester. And it's just, you know, there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of blood vessels forming and connections, and sometimes these can just pop up. And basically the fertility clinic said, you know, you're very early, so we do, you know, want to keep an eye on this because you're only 5 weeks pregnant. So it was a little bit risky at first because of how early I was. And luckily, it never really grew in size. It stayed very small. It was about 1 centimeter, never really grew that much. And then it stayed until I was 12 weeks. And then at my 12-week scan, they said it had resolved. So it stayed around for quite a while of my first trimester, but we thought that it would go away by the time I got out of my first trimester. My OB was not concerned about it. He said these are really common. About 40% of pregnancies can have them. He said, we'll just watch it and hopefully it'll go away. It wasn't impacting the baby. And my reproductive immunologist was more concerned about it because he follows me really closely. And he felt like it was my immune system acting up with my pregnancy. And so he adjusted some of my medications, which may have ended up helping me. I'm going to do another video about dealing with a subchorionic hemorrhage in the first trimester for those that may identify with that and share my experience. But really, it was fine. And my situation happened the way that most do, but it still caused me a lot of anxiety because the risk is if it gets too large, it can impact the baby or harm the baby or cause you to miscarry, which happens in a very, very slim amount of cases with a subchorionic hemorrhage, but it can happen. But that just added another layer of anxiety to my already anxiety-driven pregnancy. But I am happy to say that I only had a few instances of spotting. It was either light pink or like a light brown, and that was it. I never bled. Some poor women bleed a lot, and they are very scared during their pregnancy. That was not me. I knew based on my symptoms that my situation was more minimal in terms of I wasn't cramping, I wasn't having a ton of bleeding, it wasn't growing. So we just kind of trusted God and trusted in our faith for it to work itself out. And last week at our ultrasound, when they said that they didn't see it, that really made us feel very happy and thankful to God about it. So I will say, yeah, the first 8 weeks of pregnancy were really hard. Those early critical weeks where I just know that the miscarriage risk is the highest. But then as the first trimester has gone on, I have dealt with more symptoms of the first trimester. So I've definitely felt very pregnant. Having weekly ultrasounds allows me to feel very calmed and checking on the baby every week. So I don't have that many days to go without making sure that they're okay. That's huge. That has been a really big help through this process. Talking to my doctor so closely every week makes me feel very connected and aware of my health. He checks up on my comprehensive metabolic panel. He's been tracking my hormones through my first trimester, really just making sure that my body is responding well to my pregnancy, that my baby's happy. And so far, so good. So I guess as I've come out of my first trimester, I'm starting to not be as anxious, starting to feel like the baby has a chance to be successful and to have a full-term birth, starting to feel like they are healthy. Another thing that has helped me is we just got back our NIPT results, which is the genetic testing for the baby, and we also found out the gender of the baby. I'm super excited about that. So the NIPT results, basically they test you around 10 to 12 weeks pregnant for several major chromosome issues that can be in your baby, and they can cause major development problems. So you want to know about it. You want to know about that for your pregnancy. They recommend that all pregnancies are screened for this. So we just got those results back, and the baby is healthy. And has no risk, has very, very low risk of any of the trisomy issues. So that also made us feel like, okay, we have a healthy baby, and just make us feel a lot more hopeful going into our second trimester. So what are some things that I did to help me deal with the extreme anxiety that has been over me consistently every single day? My doctor has me take oral progesterone at night in my first trimester, and that has allowed me to sleep really well. So that is just something my doctor has done. So I've been getting really good sleep. He supplements me with progesterone in my first trimester. So sleep is really important for not building up too much stress. I pray every single day. I pray anytime I feel worried or stressed out. I often pray the prayer, God, my life and my baby's life are in your hands, because that takes it off of me, that takes the burden off of me and allows God to have control. For some reason, I found a lot of comfort in praying that prayer. Just like, I can't do this without you, and I don't know how. It's just really hard to sit there and not know, you just question if you're actually even pregnant for so long because you don't feel anything. Now I'm starting to really show and have a lot of pressure pain in my uterus. So it's very obvious to me that I'm pregnant, and I'm having so many early pregnancy symptoms of nausea and vomiting and fatigue and stuff, that like it's very obvious that the baby's in there and growing and healthy. So that does kind of help as you get further along in your pregnancy. At first you're like, am I even pregnant? Like, someone prove this to me. But now that I'm almost 13 weeks, it's getting to the point where it's like, no, you're definitely pregnant, and you know you are. So yeah, just pray every day. I listen to a lot of worship music, and just sing my thanks to God and pray to Him. That book that I was telling you about, Courageously Expecting, is an amazing book that has really helped me in those moments when I just need a good read. Having a support system. My parents know that we're pregnant. They pray for me a lot. My mom will uplift me if I'm feeling nervous or anxious. My husband and I, we pray, we talk things out if I'm feeling anxious. Trying to get my mind off of things. So trying to do things that are not related to pregnancy, trying to watch movies or just rest, take naps for my mental health and emotional health, physical health. Just find ways to stay calm. It's honestly just gonna be rough. All I can say is that your first trimester, or even pregnancy in general after a loss, it's just gonna be hard. It's just gonna be hard. And there's not much you can do about it. I mean, going to therapy has really helped me. I see my therapist quite often. So she's really helped me through that first trimester and just dealing with all of those emotions and processing and learning how to cope with not only the grief that I'm still experiencing from my past and the trauma from that, but also trying to find the joy in the future. So that's what I'm working on right now, is like, you've worried most of your pregnancy through this first trimester. You've literally just worried the whole time. Can you please shift to trying to enjoy and have fun? So I'm trying to encourage myself right now to stop worrying so much, shift and enjoy, and celebrate. So I'll let you know. I'll do another video about the second trimester and like how I feel emotionally about that one. Hopefully it won't be as hard as the first one has been emotionally. It's been hard emotionally and physically with all of the first trimester symptoms. And yeah, the good news is once you do make it out of that first trimester, your chances of having a live birth go up a lot. And all you can do is stay hopeful, follow your protocols that your doctor has you on, and stay up to date with your health, and pray to God and trust God. All right, friends, so that was my video of navigating the emotional struggle of being pregnant after recurrent loss or pregnancy loss, and specifically in the first trimester, how it's been for me, how I've tried to cope with it. I haven't done the best job. I really have had a lot harder time than I thought I would, and I'm kind of disappointed in how stressed out I have been. I wish that I had been able to celebrate my baby more, but I kind of just told myself, put that off to the second trimester. Like, you need to focus on, I've been really focused on staying healthy and keeping my body where it needs to be and following my protocols and going to my doctor's appointments. Like, that's been my focus, and how to keep my baby healthy is doing those things. It hasn't really been it hasn't been very like emotionally blissful of like, I'm so excited, what's your name gonna be, all this. Like, I haven't really gotten there yet, but I hope to get there. I hope that in my second trimester I can start just enjoying the excitement of pregnancy and the celebration of it, and you know, not just have to solely focus on not miscarrying. All right, thank you so much for tuning in to my channel, Life with Everyday Haley. I am so thankful to God for my rainbow baby, and it is scary and it has been hard, but it will be worth it. And no matter what your pregnancy looks like, you could be super happy and excited and off the walls enjoying it, or you could be like me and kind of struggling and dealing with a lot of anxiety. Either way, it's okay. You have to process being pregnant your own way, in a way that your body feels like safe and supported in. And I believe that over time we can learn to celebrate our pregnancy, and find joy in it and find the good things in it, even though it looks a little different than a normal pregnancy might. All right, make sure you tune into some upcoming videos I'm going to make on more things about pregnancy and getting ready for the baby, and this exciting time in our lives. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. Hope you guys have a great day.